Hi, hope you have had a nice summer till now, and as promised we are launching the Introduction to Finance class, and I'm really happy to do this class for you. It's free, it's online, and we'll talk a little bit more about that aspect of it, but first I wanted to just tell you a little bit about finance. So why finance? Turns out finance is the study of value, and value is what I believe all humans are after. There is this notion that finance is about money, but you'll see today I won't talk about money too much. And the reason is because money is just a tool, and finance is a much more fundamental understanding of value. And I think that's an important distinction to make. Later on, obviously, in examples that I will use a lot of money language. But I want you to understand this class is not about money, it's about value. And that's extremely critical to what we are going to do. Value creation has two key components, and those are central to finance. And one is time, and the other is uncertainty. And the key element of the time and uncertainty is that just time alone is tough to understand. But when you throw in time and uncertainty, it becomes a little bit more complicated. So what we're going to do in this class is we're going to try to understand time on it by itself a lot. What are the implications of time for assessing value? And then we'll layer on what are the complexities imposed by uncertainty. And I want you to be a little patient in that respect, because uncertainty is always there, and so you'll need to kind of think through issues a little bit carefully and not worry too much about uncertainty till we get to it. The third element about this, which I really like, is that almost anything can be valued using the framework we'll learn. And it's a way of thinking. It's pretty remarkable that give me whatever asset you want to value, whether it's a corporation, whether it's a particular project, or whether it's even human capital. What is our value? And remember, even though money will be used across as the most obvious way to value things, value doesn't come necessarily only from money. I think you know what I'm talking about. It's a way of thinking and a set of tools. And to be honest, I've been in this profession for a long time, and I consider myself very fortunate to have come across finance, because I don't think I've seen anything else that is both a way of thinking and provides a set of tools. So it's like, to me, it's both art and science. And the way of thinking has a lot of science to it, a lot of rationality to it, but a lot of art to it, which is what attracts me to it. On the other hand, you'll see we'll use Excel, we'll use whatever, computers, technology. Those tools are extremely important, but I will emphasize throughout this class the way of thinking rather than the set of tools, and we'll see that as we go along. Most importantly, I love this class, I love this topic simply because all of us are making decisions all the time, and it is so applicable. It's one aspect of economics, which is the mother discipline, which is extremely applicable. So I find that attractive because we can make decision making much more transparent and much more value based. So I want you to think about these issues as you think about this class, and if these things really mean something to you, both at a personal and a professional level, take this class and use this class to motivate yourself to learn. A little bit about the syllabus and the content. First of all, this is a 10-week class, and the syllabus is on the website, so I'm not going to go through the syllabus in detail. If there's one thing I'd ask you to do, if you haven't already done it, is get to look at the syllabus. Just broadly speaking, this is what we'll spend about 2 weeks on what is called time value of money, understanding how to value benefit and costs over time. And as I said initially, we will ignore uncertainty. The next couple of weeks are decision criteria, which are largely based on the first topic about how do you make value enhancing decisions. And I will spend a lot of time on decisions that are more personally motivated, because I think you'll relate to that stuff much better than making a corporate decision. However, a lot of you are going to work in life, and it's good to realize that the decision criteria are the same. So it doesn't matter what decision you're making. Hopefully you're not drawing, graphs and using Excel to make personal decisions all the time. That would be a bit much, but I would recommend very strongly to keep the framework in mind and recognize you can always use it. 2 weeks on the two fundamental ways of financing any idea or borrowing for a company or of you investing in something. And the two securities, financial securities is what they call them, are bonds and stocks. And we will spend 2 weeks on bonds and stocks to understand them, because it's very critical to understanding finance. 2 weeks then entirely devoted to risk and uncertainty. And as I said before, till this point, I'm going to stay away from risk and uncertainty. Otherwise, you'll be drinking at a fire hydrant. It gets to be a bit much. But we'll go linearly and introduce risk and uncertainty, probably my favorite topic in finance, because it's really cool. And it can get quite complicated, but we'll keep it very simple and basic. 1 week putting it all together, and the final week is a review and the final exam. So that gives you a sense of the syllabus, and I hope you do take the time to review it. In fact, that's your first homework. Get to know the syllabus inside out. I'm now going to move over to another aspect of the class, which is extremely important to understand. This first video gives you a reflection of the whole course, so please spend some time watching it. So what's the process? Some of the features, the class will run synchronously 1 week at a time. And the reason I'm doing that is I want it to be very much like a class in real time, as if I'm teaching you face to face. There are a couple of reasons for it. One, I think what happens is a lot of learning online occurs among yourselves. So I'll talk about my role in a second here and your role, but I think it's very important to keep it synchronous. The second reason I think is equally important, and that is you need time for things to assimilate. This is going to be a challenging class simply for two reasons. One, I'm giving you a framework. Two, the framework will be used over and over to apply it to real world problems. The real world problems will be simplified a little bit, but they'll retain most of their real world features. So you need time to do that learning. You cannot just watch a video and say, I got it. If you got it, that's pretty cool, but I think practice is what makes things perfect. The main method of delivery is going to be videos, and I want to talk a little bit about this. I want the videos to be the main resource that you will have. I will do my best to make things meaningful to you, to make them exciting, and break them up into pieces that you can watch one at a time, even within 1 week session, so that you have the comfort level to understand things in bite-sized pieces. However, the good news is you can stop watching anytime, you can restart anytime, so you take care of that flexibility, use it as you go along. What are the supporting materials? I'll give you a list of textbooks, and they'll be listed in the syllabus, they are, and the relevant chapters are highlighted according to the sessions I'm doing. So there are 10 sessions, 10 weeks worth of video, and match the textbooks with the relevant chapters, and that's how we'll manage the supporting materials. There'll be some minimal notes I'll provide you, like the syllabus, some formulas, some ways of doing Excel, and so on and so forth. But I do not want you to focus too much on materials that I give you. I think that can go across as spoon feeding and so on and so forth. I want you to learn on your own, and I think that's part of what this class is all about. Assessments. I'll have assignments every week, and that fits in with the philosophy of the class. It's a really cool topic, and the coolness comes from the fact that it's so applicable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you assignments, and you will be required to submit them, and all grading will be done via computers. Final point, which I have been told repeatedly by people who have experimented with this, and I've done long distance teaching too. What's extremely important, given that you're not physically in a classroom together, is the interaction among yourselves. That's very important, peer-to-peer learning. And you have to recognize that the class is so big and you're all over the world that the interaction between faculty or teaching assistants cannot be part of the class. Otherwise, it'll become not manageable for people. So I wanted you to recognize that last point. So the process is as important as any other aspect of understanding what this class is all about, and hope that helped. I'm now going to go to my favorite topic, and which is, what is the philosophy of this class and why did I choose to do it? Why do I teach? So the first is, how does learning happen? And I'm going to give you examples of what the real world thinks how learning happens. I think most of the time learning happens in 2-hour blocks. People sit quietly in a room and one guy does the talking or one woman does the talking. I really don't think that's how learning really happens in the world. Learning happens when you're happy. You want to listen. You want to listen to not just the person in front of you like me. You want to listen to yourself. And I think that's such a key, important aspect of life. I have never learned anything unless I had wanted to learn it, and unless I'm happy. So the good news is, this is one of the strengths of online, is that when you're happy, do this video watching. When you're open, when your mind is ready to take it, you start out one day and the coffee hasn't kicked in, stop the video. Watch it when it's meaningful to you. I think that's extremely important. You are the center of the learning. And learning happens when you're relaxed, you're happy, and you want to learn. The second, where does learning happen? And this is kind of related to the first issue. Learning happens still in very structured 2-hour time blocks. Who the heck came up with that idea? I don't know, but we kind of follow it as if that's the best thing invented by humanity. That's a bunch of garbage. Learning happens, hopefully, in its own organic way. And this is where, again, I think the online class allows you that flexibility. You don't have to come to class, you don't have to sit in front of, with 40 people. There's a downside to that, or 100 people. You're learning by yourself. And taking advantage of the peers in your large group of students that are learning with you. So what's the role of the teacher and the faculty? And that's me in this case. I think I have taught since 1985. I've taught before that too. But from 1985 till now, I've been at the Ross School of Business, have traveled, taught at other places. I see my role largely as someone who shows you the beauty of finance, who shows you and motivates you as to why you would want to learn this cool subject. My role is not to spoon feed you, because I think it's not empowering you. So if you want to consume and just want to learn through consumption and watching and just input, that's not what my role is. I'll do my best in the videos to show you the beauty of finance, but I won't hold your hand, because I feel the faculty member as a coach is not a person who spoon feeds, but a person who actually challenges you to be the best you can be. Related to that, this class will be about why things work the way they do. I will, as I said, it's very applied. I will introduce formulas through examples rather than the other way around most of the time. There's a lot of math and so on and so forth, a lot of structure. But I'm much more interested in you understanding why things work the way they do. The difference between people who are successful in life, and I don't mean money again, I mean just successful and happy, and the difference between people who struggle in life is the difference that some of us understand the why things work idea. So it's like if you understand why things work the way they do, and you recognize the beauty of finance, that it's a framework, it's not something that you have to memorize. It's not something you Google. If you know the why of things, and that's what finance is all about, you'll never have to go back to your notes, worry about Googling stuff and so on. You can start from scratch and tackle any problem you want to. What is the role of the student? I think it's becoming pretty obvious what your role is, but I want to reiterate it. I think if you are in the mode of, I'm going to sit there and just consume, I would say that's not the role of the student. The student is the center of learning. And I think therefore, with the being in the center comes the responsibility to learn. And I think it's extremely important that you grab this responsibility. And remember, people are worried about online teaching and how they'll be cheating, how there's no involvement directly and watching of what's going on by the faculty or the administrators. I'm not worried about that, because I think you have Jiminy Cricket. I mean, if you've watched Pinocchio, whenever he lied, Jiminy Cricket was his conscience, his nose grew longer. You are your best Jiminy Cricket. I mean, I can do all the watching I want in my class, but I think if you know you're crossing a line, that's all you need to know, right? And so your moral compass is better than anything I can give you. And I tell you, learn on your own. Learning is a collective exercise, but you do the work on your own, and that's how you learn. That's how you'll develop. And I encourage you to take a very active role, especially in the online class, in going and satisfying your curiosity and trying to do things that you've always wanted to do. Who is ultimately responsible for learning? So the answer is, I hope you know by now, the answer is you. And I am just a facilitator. And I just dream of making learning happen for you in any way I can help, except I won't spoon feed. I will challenge you, and I will hopefully make you learn through that process. Devote about 5 to 10 hours a week. And this I'm putting under philosophy simply because I want to emphasize that while online learning makes things very easy for you, you can learn at your own time when you're happy and so on, it also imposes a certain discipline on you. And I think if you keep 5 to 10 hours a week, every week, by the end of the class, you won't need to study for the final. That's the cool thing about finance. So, is the class really free? I don't think so. And this goes back to the point of money, association of money and cost or benefit. I think you should think of the effort you'll put in. So the class is for free in the sense you're not paying money, but I'm going to make you work hard. So in fact, harder than if you were sitting in my classroom. And if you're willing to do that, the class is obviously not free. Class requires effort, and effort, it will be pretty deep and hard for you. I'm challenging you, I'm not discouraging you, but I want you to know you'll do the learning and I will be the facilitator, and we'll have fun together.